Have you ever wondered what actually happened to Michael Jackson and why they say he was murdered? It all begins with a man named Dr. Conrad Murray. At the start of the story, Murray is 56 years old and living in Las Vegas. He is a physician, but also a man with expensive tastes and reckless habits. Despite being married, he spends much of his time in gentlemen's clubs, flaunting his wealth, throwing money around, and drawing attention from strippers and cocktail servers. The lifestyle works in one sense. He becomes romantically involved with many women, but it also leaves a trail of consequences. Those relationships result in 7 children with 6 different women. Children, however, come with responsibility, and Murray shows little interest in meeting it. He repeatedly avoids paying child support and is sued over and over again by the mothers of his children. By the time everything catches up with him, he owes more than $700,000 in court judgments for unpaid child support. On top of that, he is behind on mortgage payments for his Las Vegas mansion and buried under credit card debt. Murray is desperate for money. Then, in 2009, he receives a phone call that seems like salvation. The call comes from Michael Jackson, the king of pop. In 2009, Michael Jackson is still one of the most famous and recognizable people on earth. His albums changed music history, his tours in the 1980s and 1990s shattered records, and his name alone commands global attention. But behind the legend, reality is far less glamorous. 50 years old, Michael is struggling. Years of legal battles, drug dependence, and financial mismanagement have left him reportedly more than $500 million in debt. To escape financial ruin, Michael announces his first tour in over a decade. The tour, titled This Is It, ignites worldwide excitement, and tickets sell out within hours. Yet the pressure is enormous. Michael is older, physically fragile, and far from the condition he once had during his peak years. Still, he is determined to protect his legacy and secure his future. The stress takes a toll. Michael develops severe insomnia and becomes unable to sleep. Desperate for rest, he reaches out to Dr. Murray, explaining his condition and requesting a drug that had once rendered him unconscious during surgery. Propofol. Propofol is not a sleep aid. It is a powerful anesthetic used to induce a coma-like state during major surgical procedures. As a board-certified physician, Murray has a professional duty to refuse such a request and warn his patient of the dangers. Propofol suppresses breathing and can be fatal if not administered under strict medical supervision in a hospital setting. But Murray does not refuse. Instead, he agrees to provide Michael with propofol in exchange for $150,000 per month. Murray relocates from Las Vegas to Los Angeles to become Michael's personal physician. He relishes the status that comes with the role, frequently boasting about his connection to Michael Jackson and using the association to impress others. Meanwhile, a dangerous routine takes shape. Michael rehearses during the day, and at night Murray administers propofol through an 4 drip set up beside Michael's bed. Crucially, Murray does none of the things required to keep a patient safe. He does not use a heart monitor. He does not have proper resuscitation equipment on hand. He ignores every medical protocol associated with administering such a drug. After nearly 2 months of this routine, disaster strikes. One night, Murray gives Michael a combination of powerful anti-anxiety medications, but Michael still cannot sleep. The following morning, Murray administers propofol once again, and then commits a fatal error. He leaves the room, abandoning Michael while the drug is actively suppressing his breathing. While Michael lies unattended, he stops breathing. Murray does not notice. He is distracted, using his computer and checking emails. He even responds to an inquiry from Michael's tour insurance broker, dismissing concerns about Michael's health and insisting he is fit to perform. Murray then makes personal phone calls, chatting with a woman he is trying to pursue romantically. Only later does he return to Michael and realize something is terribly wrong. Michael is not breathing. Murray panics and attempts CPR, but does so incorrectly. Instead of immediately calling emergency services, he calls Michael's bodyguard. When the bodyguard arrives, Murray instructs him to help remove and hide the propofol vials and 4 equipment. Only after cleaning up the scene does Murray finally call 911. Estimates suggest that Michael may have gone without oxygen for anywhere between 25 and 83 minutes. Michael is rushed to the hospital, but it is far too late. The most famous entertainer in the world is pronounced dead. The news shocks the planet. Millions of people rush to the internet searching for information, overwhelming websites like Google, Wikipedia, and Twitter. The surge is so massive that Google engineers briefly believe the company is experiencing a cyber attack. Fans mourn worldwide, but the shock deepens when the autopsy results are released. Medical examiners find lethal levels of propofol in Michael's system, and his death is officially ruled a homicide. Dr. Murray is arrested and charged. At trial, the evidence paints a damning picture of negligence and recklessness. Murray shows no remorse and accepts no responsibility. He is ultimately convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison. After his release in 2016, Murray publishes a book titled This Is It, in which he deflects blame and continues to profit from Michael Jackson's name, long after the king of pop is gone. This is one of the creepiest guys I have ever talked about. Now, the guy's name is Russell, and Russell is around 44 when this story starts, living in Canada. Russell is a big-shot colonel in the Canadian Air Force, flying very important people like the Prime Minister. Once, he even flew the Queen of England. Here's the thing about Russell, though he's a weird guy. In fact, he really loves women's used underwear, and his crazy self will do anything to get it. Like one day in 2007, he breaks into his neighbor's house while they aren't home, goes into their daughter's room, and steals a bunch of her underwear. Not only that, he then spends hours there trying them on, modeling in them, taking pictures of himself while wearing them, and doing other disgusting things that I won't get into because you get the point. I guess he decides this looks like a lot of fun, and he starts doing it all the time. He becomes obsessed. So he begins staking out the homes of women he finds attractive. He waits until no one is home, breaks in, raids their dressers, tries on their underwear and lingerie, and takes pictures of himself wearing them. Not only does he try this stuff on, but before leaving these women's houses, he steals bras and other undergarments and takes them home. When he gets home, he adds them to his collection, which quickly becomes massive. This dude ends up with boxes of women's undergarments. He is also extremely meticulous. He keeps all the photos he takes on portable hard drives and maintains detailed logs of every single break-in he commits. Years go by, and he continues breaking into houses and doing the whole underwear thing. By this point, he has burglarized around 80 homes in the area. Meanwhile, he remains in the military. He is still a colonel pilot, a well-respected guy, so no one suspects that he is out there acting like some underwear bandit. In fact, in 2009, he gets promoted to base commander at the largest Air Force base in Canada, making him an even bigger deal in that world. But here's something that often happens in stories like this. Creepy thrill seekers eventually find their habits aren't enough anymore. Given enough time, they seek something bigger and darker. That is exactly what happens here. Russell decides that breaking into homes and raiding underwear drawers no longer satisfies him, and he takes things further. One night, he puts on a mask, breaks into a random woman's home while she is sleeping, assaults her, takes photos, steals her underwear, and flees. A couple of weeks later, he repeats the pattern. Masked entry, assault, photographs, escape, later storing the images with the rest on his hard drive. It gets even darker. A few months later, while on a flight assignment, he meets a woman who works as a flight attendant at the same military base. They chat casually as colleagues do. He learns she lives alone. Because he is base commander, he has access to her schedule, so he checks and notes when she will be away from home. One night while she is on a work trip, he breaks into her house, steals her underwear, tries it on, takes photos, and leaves. When she returns, she notices someone has gone through her drawers, though she does not suspect him. She assumes it might be her ex-boyfriend. A few days later, Russell returns, this time while she is home. He enters through the basement window and hides behind her furnace. About 30 minutes later, she goes downstairs looking for her cat and notices the cat fixated on something behind the furnace. As she approaches, she sees a masked man hiding there. He attacks her, assaults her, kills her, and records the entire act. A few months later, while driving through a neighborhood, he spots another woman exercising inside her home and decides she will be his next victim. One night, he returns, waits outside until she goes to bed, breaks in, attacks her, assaults her, kills her, and photographs everything. The next day, he goes to work as if nothing happened, flies assignments, and spends his weekend relaxing with his wife. The murders spark a major investigation. Police discover unique tire tread marks in a field behind the second victim's house. They set up a roadblock on a nearby highway, stopping vehicles to look for matching tires. Russell happens to pass through on his commute home. Officers question him, and he attempts to impress them by mentioning his military rank. Another officer quietly notes that his tires match the evidence, but they let him go. 3 days later, he is placed under surveillance. Eventually, police bring him in for questioning. He arrives confident and composed, believing he has nothing to worry about. After nearly 10 hours of interrogation, investigators confront him with forensic evidence. Ultimately, he confesses. He is arrested, pleads guilty, and is sentenced to life in prison.